divorce is tough because it pits one against the other, and it's very difficult to keep your motives pure in the face of your impending doom. I was listening to Hardly Initiated. They had on a divorce lawyer, and she was talking about clients that are the higher earners in their household. And she tells them about 6 months to a year before they file for divorce to begin changing their financial kind of lifestyle. In my case, it became very clear that I was gonna have to pay child support. Like, all the fucking lights turned on in my head, because up until that point, I still saw him as the man that I married that no longer wanted to be in the marriage. I didn't see him as evil, you know? But at that moment, I was like, this evil ass, difficult as it is, you have to be able to see with your eyes and not through your heart during that time. That doesn't mean be a bitch, but you got to kind of see the person that you're working with, because it's really easy to be manipulated during that time. So, and that's why people talk about like getting lawyers. It's very easy to slip into that space of being rivals. You are now on opposite sides of the table that you once sat next to each other on. The other sad truth is, even if you guys love the shit out of each other and want what's best for each other, if y'all could fight well, you'd probably still be married. Welcome back to Lex Talk. Actually, y'all should probably be saying welcome back to me, bitch, right? Because I've been gone for a minute. Oh well, you know, life be doing the damn thing, and this, I'm sorry, is not the priority. As much as I enjoy doing this shit, I don't like to do it half-ass, and sometimes I just don't have any more capacity in my life to like fit in all the things. So it just be getting pushed onto the side, y'all, and I am so sorry. I really need to be consistent, but also it's probably not going to happen. Anyways, if you're new here, I be struggling. My name is Alexis, and I be struggling to get these episodes out. This, though, I feel like, low-key, I'm like, is this guy trying to not make me do this specific episode, or is it just all coincidence? I do not know. Like, we'll see. If we get through this episode, then we get through this episode. If not, then maybe I just need to put this back in the vault, because maybe it's just not supposed to happen, y'all. Like, thanks. I've recorded this a while ago and just had to re-record it, and then my daughter got sick. But now, like, I'm ready to sit down and record, and my camera just literally gives me an error that it's never given me before. And then it just stopped giving me the error after trying a dozen times, you know, like, I don't know. God, do you not want me to talk about this nigga? I promise to be good. Anyways, y'all. So the purpose of this channel is to have real conversations about life, love, and relationships. Basically, it was birthed out of me being frustrated, trying to have honest conversations with people about things that I'm going through, and people not being able to be transparent enough to offer any kind of like real help, you know? I remember it was my ex and I, we had recently gotten married. We were in a new city, a new state, and it was just him and I for the most part. We didn't really have a tribe at that point. And so I was just like really yearning for like some married women to talk to kind of coach me through things, because I was just, you know, so many new things that I was kind of faced with, and I just had no outlet, outlet that could actually give me constructive feedback. You know, I didn't want to talk to anybody that was going to make things worse or encourage me to do some foul shit. But so I went to, of course, the church, because where else can you get like a ready-made set of individuals that you can kind of confide in, you know, allegedly, right? Supposedly. And so I went, and I remember just trying to ask them like advice on how they navigate marriage, especially in the beginning of it. And I was just met with all the kind of cliche ass unhelpful responses that, you know, we do it all the time. And I'm sure I've been guilty of this at some point or another, of just answering the question, not really to answer the question, but to move on from the question. of like, oh, how did you guys get through marriage, or how did you guys deal with your husband wanting this? And they're just like, you just got to trust God, give it time, it'll get better. Ma'am, what do I do with that? Can you give me some actionable advice that I can like move from here with? Like, I gotta go home to this nigga tonight, and that ain't gonna help me. That ain't. Yes, trust God, but also, could you be the body? Could you be the body of Christ and help a sister out? Like, I really need y'all to be his arms and legs and hands and feetses and stuff, because trusting is just not. It's not hitting me in the way that I need it to hit in order for me to see some change. Like, yes, trust, and then what? Come on now. But anyways, not that I had ever not been open and honest and transparent, but in that particular moment, I realized exactly why I value that attribute so much in myself and in others. And over time, it's only become more and more apparent, and I've gotten more and more frustrated when I'm not able to find people to really talk for real with, because it does start to make you feel like it's super lonely going through something by yourself, and even though somebody may not be able to give you a solution, sometimes it's nice to know that people have gotten through what you're going through, and they felt the same way that you did when they were in it. It's like, okay, so even if I can't get a step-by-step instruction on how to walk through it, I see an example of it, almost the same way like we as Black people are inspired when we see other Black people doing something that we're interested in. Representation matters. It means the same thing in relationships, in everything, every experience that you go through. Representation does matter. Being able to see a possible way through is super encouraging, and vice versa. When you don't see representation, when you don't see a way through, it can really start to feel pretty hopeless, And so in these big kind of relationships that we go through in life, marriage, parenthood, even just friendships, work relationships, like having people that you can identify with helps a whole lot. And I know I've been super blessed when I have stumbled upon podcasts talking about something that I have gone through. And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be to others. I be having some good things to say too sometimes. And, I be feeling like people should hear it. All right. So first things first, I Papa freaks all the honeys, dummies, Playboy, Juvenile's Tiny Desk concert. Y'all, let's talk about it. It was amazing, y'all. Like, it blessed my entire being. I don't know how y'all felt about it, but I would venture to say, I'm just going to say it. I think that was the best Tiny Desk concert that I have ever seen. And please hear me when I say I don't give a fuck about what you seen. I didn't say what nobody else seen. I said what Alexis, have seen. And it's not even that I haven't seen like better, maybe better vocal performances or songs that I like more, or better like choreo. Like, it was just the way that it brought joy to the depths of my soul. Like, it really just felt like home. All the nostalgia, all the feels. Like, it was just so good to me. And so I was super pleased by everything that Juvenile did, everything that Manny Fresh. Y'all, hand clap for Manny Fresh. Like, I knew he was an amazing talent. I know that his discography goes way back. I know how pivotal he's been in like all of the Hot Boys and all the other stuff that he's done, but I never got to see him actually like move. And it felt like the Tiny Desk was a little bit of a behind the scenes. Now, granted, it was at a much smaller scale than what he can do, but it still felt like more of a behind the scenes than what I get just from listening to the album. Like, I had no idea how much stuff he was orchestrating and like how just good he is at doing it. Like, all the sound effects that he made, like, it was exquisite, y'all. And I was so happy that they took it so seriously and they came with it, y'all. Like, the way that they curated that show to me was just so well done. Hand clap for them, because I mean, honestly, it was just so tasteful to hear Back That Ass Up with a cellist and a violinist, y'all. Like, that was crazy. It was amazing. Y'all, amazing. I don't even dance to that song anymore because it's so overdone. It's so played all the time. And kudos to them, hand clap. I'm happy that they're getting that bag. But when it comes on, I'm just like, I've been there, I'm over it. But hearing it like that, y'all, it awakened those ass cheek nerves like they haven't been in at least a decade. And I'm here for it. I was here for it. I actually watched that thing at least 5 more times. It was just so good. I even love like all the little kind of tributes that they did to, where they're from, Magnolia and all that stuff, like with all the New Orleans artists that they had up there, and shout outs to like Wayne and Turk through like the music. They had Go DJ playing in the background at one point, Know Your Clap. I just thought they did such a great job, and it really just felt like auntie era. I'm in the auntie at this point. Like, well, I'm a mama, but I'm also like, it's our time. We are the aunties now, and I don't know. At some point in this musical journey, I just stopped. I stopped adding anything else to my repertoire. Like, whatever is coming out, I don't care no more. I'm done. I like it here. I'm just gonna sit here. And I think I'm stuck somewhere in like mid 2000s. Like, that's just it for me. Like, that's it. I don't want any more. I don't want any more. Actually, I went on a date a while ago. Well, not a while ago, but not too long ago. And the guy was a little younger. He didn't act younger, but you can kind of lean into what's before you or what's after you. And me having older siblings and being the youngest, I looked up to them, and I leaned into all of their music. So I grew up stealing my brother's Trick Daddy CD. That was the stuff that I kind of really looked up to during that time. So it holds a very special place in my heart. Either way, I'm a grandma. I've always been a grandma, and I'm not going to stop that today. And so he, on the other hand, has mostly younger siblings. And so he's surrounded by, what's current, what's new, what's popping, all the TikTok stuff. And so he's over here like playing all these little people, little something, little. And I'm just like, I could not be more annoyed listening to the news. And it's crazy because I don't mind listening to it on TikTok, but I don't want it coming from my car radio. Like, don't stream it on none of my platforms. I don't want it. I have no interest in the new sound. It's crazy, but I don't. Take me back. Give me Yin Yang Twins. Give me Andre 3 Stacks. Like, give me T.I. I want that. I mean, I do listen to a couple of the new people, but mostly on like her. That's not even new. But like all the new people that just have the TikTok stuff, I'm not interested. And this Tiny Desk really felt like it was exactly for me. It was for my lane. They were speaking to my soul, and I loved it. And I just felt like I could really connect with Juvie. It felt like, it's like we were in that bubble of time of like, yes, like I remember when this was at the top of everybody's chart. Like this came out, and everybody couldn't wait for all of these songs to come out or be played on the radio or wherever you're at, whatever club or anything. And it felt so comfortable. I felt so seen, y'all. But anyways, I was so pleased, and I absolutely looked him up to see when he's gonna be in my city, y'all. And apparently him and Plies gonna be right up here, y'all. And I know I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be so excited. But yeah, it was just such a blessing to I didn't know how much I needed that Tiny Desk. Like no other Tiny Desk has hit me in the way that did, because your girl is ratchet. Old school ratchet though, not new school ratchet. And I love it here. Anyways, all right, so today, guys, I would say much awaited, but I don't have enough of a following for that. But much awaited for me. I've been waiting for this entire 2 years and change to really get y'all the business of what has been going on in this divorce. Now that it's finalized and I'm no longer like worried about what's happening in court, I can talk about it freely. But I have been struggling because I'm not looking to characterize my ex as the big bad wolf for all y'all people that don't know him. Although he might be that to my story, basically nobody can really draw any conclusions from what I'm going to say, because it is a one-sided story. Unless you have his input, all you're getting is my version of the truth. And the only conclusions that should be drawn should be about me. But I know that I can't control people from doing that. So I was really wondering how I would approach this and not feel just like completely guilt ridden. And so what I'm going to do, because I still think it's it's needed. It's needed, at least for the purpose that I do this channel. Being able to talk about the real things that sometimes people don't feel comfortable discussing, because I know how helpful it can be to have these conversations, and I'm here for it, you know? And I think that my divorce story was so different from the norm, and so much of it was a surprise to me. And it's like, what if I could make sure that the next person isn't surprised, caught off guard, or, you know, has to go through this horrible situation unnecessarily? So, but unfortunately, in order to do that, I got to tell y'all the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God, as far as I know and believe. And so, yeah, I'm sure that some people are going to draw some conclusions, and honestly, you know, do what you will. But I'm also going to make sure that I am very open and honest about my fuck shit contributions to the narrative. And I'm also going to try to make it very clear what parts are truth, fact, and what parts are speculation. Although I do be thinking I be speculating the fuck out of some shit. I be doing pretty good, because I think I can be pretty objective, but I also know I have blind spots. And so I'm still going to say, this is me speculating, and I could be whole ass wrong. So I don't know. Go ask him if you know him. Well, actually don't. Leave that man alone. And I'm also going to give you my 2 cents about, because as much as I feel like my ex did to me, 2 things can be true. He can be a horrible person to me and a great person outside of that. You know, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people in the world that, well, I won't say a bunch because everybody likes me, but there's probably some people, you know, at the random ends of the earth that don't like your girl, and have a wholly different experience of me than other people that really think I'm amazing, you know, like I am. Anyways, all right, so I'm going to have to break this up into at least 2 episodes. But today, what I'm going to talk about is kind of lessons learned, basically from the perspective of what I wish I knew. If I knew now, if I had to go through it again, this is what I would have done differently, kind of thing. And then the next thing I need to talk about is a lot of how the divorce affected, or how it related to me as a parent, as a mom, and the whole like parental custody arrangement and stuff like that. And also the trauma, and how that trauma now affects me as I go out into the world in search of a long-term relationship, partnership, all the above. Because it definitely has informed the way that I move through this world, for better or for worse. I don't even know yet. I don't even know. But I'm going to talk about that. Oh, this is good. All right. So let's begin. All right. What divorce was really like for me. So in the beginning, y'all, I was a hot, smoking hot, fiery hot ass mess. But I had every reason to be, y'all. Like, imagine, just imagine for a second with me that your spouse, I'm going to say spouse because you could be a man listening to this and it would still apply. Your spouse comes to you like, babe, let's do it. Let's have a baby. You know, let's do it. Let's have a baby. Let's make this family more complete. And you are like, you know, babe, I love you. It's a great idea, but we don't actually be liking each other all the time that much lately. So how about this? How about we pour into ourselves and get to the place where we can stand each other for an extended period of time? Because right now we seem to be in this little lull, right? I love you though, and I want this for us. But today, I don't think it's a good idea. And then imagine that you feel shitty for telling that to your spouse. Like, what way to be met with an exciting proposition like that from your spouse, right? So you feel shitty, and you have vowed to like give this everything you got to like get y'all relationship in a good place so that you feel comfortable procreating and bringing another life into this, household. And then after about 6 months to a year of, counseling and really working on, your marriage and finding tools to help you navigate conflict better and working on all the things, right? And you feel like you guys are in a better place, and you go back and you're like, babe, guess what? I think we should do it. I think we've been in a good place for a while, for a few months now. It feels pretty solid. Like we're learning how to do this thing, So let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it, baby. Let's have a baby. And then they're like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Okay. And then you spend the next year trying, and then ultimately get pregnant, and then the baby gets here. And that nigga say he wants to leave your ass. Or nigget, whatever, if it's the other way around. What? Y'all, it was a month after my daughter was born, and he is like, I want out. Now, at this point, I'm battling shock. Like, how this nigga could not be serious. There's no way that he is that he's really gonna go through with this, that he's really gonna divorce me. Like, what? This is a nightmare. Two, like, even the nightmare is stupid because it's not happening. Okay. Then you get to this point where it's like, all right, it's been a couple days now. Like, I don't know. I think he might be serious. Oh shit. What the fuck does that mean? How in the world am I supposed to do life without my life partner? Like, ain't no backsies. What is happening here? And then you just move into that point of just like extreme pain of like, how you do this to me? Like, the person that you have shown every part of yourself is just like, no thanks. It really does hurt. I'm laughing about it now, but it really does hurt, y'all. I actually did love this man. So battling all those emotions basically boiled down to me becoming a desperate ass mess. And when I say desperate, I mean desperate. Like, I'm actually quite ashamed of all the things that I did. Like, I tried to seduce this nigga. Ain't nothing worse than being like a month postpartum trying to seduce anything. I don't know. Y'all, thank God for grace. Thank God for snapbacks. And I'm sorry to anybody that hasn't snapped back, because I know that is a triggering subject. But I did. And before I did, it was a terrible time. Like, talk about confidence in the shitter. I never had body issues like I did during pregnancy and just after. And to have the one person that, like, you're expecting to for real love you for better or for worse, not do the things. It's like, what the hell? Like, trying to seduce somebody when I was a fucking ogre. And I can only imagine what it was like from his point of view, like the ease with which he was able to dismiss my ass, which is also quite disrespectful, because I'm like this because, anyways, I tried to seduce him. I tried the give it space thing, like just let him do his thing, try not to be too overbearing so that maybe he'll like, oh, maybe I do like her, that ain't work. I tried being like a friend, like legit, like being supportive, I get it. If this is what you feel you need to do, then, I support you in your decision because, I love you. I just want I want what's best for both of us, kind of thing. So, girl, hush, you ain't believe none of that shit. And it didn't work either. Yeah, it was embarrassing, y'all. But thank God, one of the greatest things that I had during that time was a good friend of mine. She was, not only was she supportive during that time, because, there were people that were supportive, but there was only a few people that were close enough to offer support in a real, like, tangible way. Being able to sit with me, cry with me, go out with me, help distract me, all that stuff. She was one of those. But one of the things that she did that I will never forget, is she encouraged me not to feel bad about fighting for my marriage. And that was something that I desperately needed to hear. And to anybody that might be in that space of fighting for their marriage, where they start to feel a little bit, I don't know, like they're having an out of body experience, because when you just doing shit that you never would have thought you'd be doing, like compromising and wait. And I'm not talking about, I don't even want to say this anymore, because I feel like I should not have to say this. I'm not talking about things where somebody's being abusive or even infidelity, which is, that's your business. But what I'm talking about is just fighting for somebody that genuinely just doesn't feel like fighting for you anymore. Like, self-esteem, like, damn, I'm glad I'm a confident person naturally, because I don't know how else I would have gotten through that, because that's really, especially as the woman, like, your man not wanting you in that way, and I won't say that it was like that. It's not like he didn't want me. I think he still absolutely had love for me, but he was so turned off by the relationship that wasn't enough, like, especially like when you're somebody that doesn't have to like work hard to get like female attention or male attention. That's not something that really gets you off anymore, So it was definitely a really tough time in our relationship, but tough for me to fight for him. I really felt kind of disgusted with myself at many times. And so to have a friend not make me feel any further embarrassment or shame was so pivotal, because truly and honestly, although I am at a place now where I think God has better for me, I still think marriage is worth fighting for, a solid marriage. And as rough as things were at times with us, I still think our marriage was, well, at least from my point of view, was solid. Like, we were both decent people that cared about each other, that were, as far as I don't really know. I know I was respecting him as far as the covenant is concerned. And just decent people, I think it's worth fighting for. I think that it does take a lot of work, and ours would have taken a whole lot of work for us to get to a space of really feeling mutual joy and respect and love and honor. But I think we had the ability to, but we would have to make the choice to exercise that and the discipline that it takes to really get there. But anyways, it was super difficult to do. And although I was incredibly ashamed of everything that I kind of did, and I hate that there were so many witnesses to my out of body experience, I don't regret it. I don't regret it in the least. Because like I said, I do believe that it was a relationship worth fighting for. There aren't many relationships that I think fall into that category. I really just think it's... only people that would fight like that for is my husband and my child. Because I know it's very... like, I know that relationships that have this level of intimacy, you're going to hurt the other person. And you're going to have to let some shit go. You're going to have to swallow some shit. And not shit that you asked to swallow. Because we are human beings and we're flawed. And there's no way we can be perfect. So if you're in that close proximity to somebody consistently, oh, you're asking to be hurt. That's just the way it's going to go. And some things you're going to have to get over before the other person owns up to it. And sometimes never take accountability, because a lot of things aren't cut and dry, right and wrong. Sometimes it's like, I just didn't like that. And oh well, it's so complicated. And so I think if you are interested in maintaining any of those relationships that have that high level of intimacy and proximity and consistency, you have to be ready to get over some shit. And some shit that you wouldn't take from anybody else, And so, yeah, I definitely think that, hey, if you're going through that, you're in that space right now, get you a friend. Find you a married friend that's going to encourage you that it's okay. It's okay to fight for your marriage. It's okay. Whatever that shit looks like, don't worry about it. Because to be quite honest, there's a whole lot of shit that people, self-present company included, do behind the closed doors of their marriage that they might not be comfortable telling other people about. And not to say that it's like stuff that's bad or anything like that, but It's their business. It's their motherfucking business. And I think that that's how a lot of marriages survive. Yeah, you just have to kind of humble yourself and realize that I said I would never, but maybe I would for the right person. So yeah, it was super embarrassing. All right, now from a legal perspective, the journey that we took. Well, I started off with, I started off seeking a divorce coach. And the divorce coach is basically somebody that's half parts therapist, half parts mediator. So they have the background to counsel you, give you therapy, help you work through your emotions as far as divorce is concerned. And they also have the ability, they have enough engagement with the court system regarding divorces that they know the process. They can guide you through the legal steps that need to be taken, what your options are. They also have the ability to act as a mediator. If you do decide to proceed with a divorce, they are licensed mediators. I don't know if they're always court appointed, but they have whatever certificate, I guess, to be a mediator and help you guys work through the documentation that you can then present to a judge to sign off on if you guys want to go at it together, which is a whole lot cheaper than litigation. However, while we were doing it, well, let me backtrack. During that time that I enlisted the help of the divorce coach, I engaged my ex as well so that they could provide services on behalf of both of us. I think at that point we were only discussing mediation to proceed with the divorce. So we weren't looking for counseling, or it was just really like, can you provide the mediation services for us as a pair going in this together? Unbeknownst to me, my ex had actually retained legal counsel. I found this out a little later, so I'm going to put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. With the mediator, basically they helped us draft documents that talked about how we wanted to go about our custody situation and how we wanted to go about our separation of assets and stuff. So there's the marital settlement agreement where you guys divide and come up with all the parameters on how you separate your lives. And then there's a whole other document that has to do with your child, all the things that have to do with your child. And so we sat at a table for a few hours, went back and forth, and she guided us, okay, well, how do you guys think you want to do this? And she'll give us suggestions. And basically at the end of it, we kind of ironed out as many details as we could. And we were actually both on board with it. We drafted it and that was it. Had it for a little while and just sat on it while we were kind of supposed to be reviewing it and mulling it over. During that time, my ex decided that he wanted to give it another shot. And so, yeah, it was about a month and a half to 2 months after he had first mentioned a divorce or whatever that he decided he wanted to work things out. Now, this chapter we're going to call reconciliation, but also subtitle is don't get caught slipping. I was conflicted, y'all. It was extremely conflicting because at this point I had told my family, my closest friends, because at a certain point you need help, there's so many things that are happening, so much that's weighing on me that I was on maternity leave. Y'all, I was I got a new baby. I got to go back to this job. We also have all this, we have properties together. We have bank accounts together, credit cards together, cars in both of our names, so much stuff, and to be doing that on your own, again, with a new baby, I was drowning. I was super overwhelmed. I was a mess. So I had to kind of reach out. My mom was the first person that I reached out about, and she was everything to me. I talked to this lady 3-4 times a day. All day she was just kind of on standby. Thank God she's retired. But just to kind of talk me through it, help comfort me, just someone to vent to, cry on the phone with, vent and act crazy, all that stuff. She was there for me. So I was super grateful to have her kind of on my side. But after a while, it's kind of like my brother and my sister-in-law, they were planning a trip with their kids up to our house. And it's listen, you're going to have to tell them before they end up in this house and it'd be all weird. At a certain point, it's hard to keep big secrets like this from people that are close to you. Friends wanting to come in town that I got to be like, actually, we may not even have a house by the time you come, So I had told everybody by this point, and not even beyond the fact of telling everybody, my husband deciding to leave me a month after our daughter was born. Those aren't qualities that I necessarily look for in a husband, somebody that's supposed to lead me and my family, look out for my best interests. And so although I was super happy that he was going to give us another shot, that's what I was begging for, right? Trying to seduce his ass for, right? But in all honesty, I was skeptical, like how do I turn off the fact that I feel abandoned by you and now place you back in this pivotal role in my life and allow you to lead me? How do I trust you in this position in my life anymore? But the messy truth is, you kind of just have to do it if you're looking to give it any shot. And so I basically had to say to myself, all right, Alexis, if either you're going to try it or you're not going to try it. But there ain't no halfsies. You can't bring in the extra bullshit on top of this already unstable foundation. You're going to have to go ahead and put all that skepticism in the back, put it on the shelf, and maybe you'll get to it, maybe you won't. But right now is certainly not the time. And so, I did whatever I could to kind of give it a real shot. But I was being played is what I feel like. Oh, yeah, that's speculation. So the reason I feel like I was being played, I can't remember the first time that my ex brought this up to me, but he wanted to leave his job in order to pursue his own business at a point in our relationship. And I don't know when it started, but I know that when I got pregnant, this became a much bigger topic of discussion. I think before that it may have been something that he threw in the air trying to gauge where I was, but the conversation never really took shape. It never really had any legs. But I think when I got pregnant, speculation, I think that his desire was always to have a more free life, like that kind of no offense, that kind of ignorant view of entrepreneurship that makes you think that like you're free, but truly you are still, there's a freedom in parts of it for sure, but you're still very much a slave to the people that pay you, and so you're the one that's telling yourself to get on the wheel as opposed to somebody else, and you're paying into somebody else's dream. So there are ways that I understand that I absolutely respect and love entrepreneurship, but if you think that you're going to have oodles and oodles of time when you are the one that is in charge of everything that happens, good or bad, you are sadly mistaken. Go talk to somebody that's doing it. But anyways, I think he had that desire to be an entrepreneur and wanted to basically have a bit more control over how he was able to be a father and be a husband. And so I do think it came from a decent place, speculation. But anyways, getting pregnant, I think, increased that desire for him. I think there's a little bit of a panic that happened. Let me not speak on behalf of men, but I would think that that big weight that you guys have to carry of being a father, being a husband, having the pressure of leading this family well, it can be a little bit anxiety inducing, really drive you to like, what do I need to do to make sure that they never have to worry, So definitely good intentions, but it can unfold in different ways that may not be as healthy. But anyways, for my ex, he wanted to leave his job. I was never gung-ho about it. Not the entrepreneurship. I love the entrepreneurship, but because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, but as far as I know, they all approached it like I worked my day job until like that finances my dreams until such time that my dreams are income producing. Now, they don't have to produce as much income as the day job, but they need to be able to take care of your responsibilities at a minimum. We have to be able to take care of our responsibilities, financial responsibilities. And so my response to him early on was always just, well, we'll need to look at our finances and see what we can handle. And that was as far as the conversation ever got. Now, when he decided he wanted to leave me the first time, he was free to do whatever the fuck he wanted. Although we were still we were in this gray space. But I know that me over here begging and pleading and trying to seduce his ass, I ain't have no leverage to kind of tell him what he can and cannot do. So anyways, during that time, he made up his mind that he's going to follow his dreams. He's going to quit that job and he's going to be an entrepreneur, and ain't nobody going to tell him no different. And so when he decided to quote unquote reconcile, I won't say he called it a condition, but he came back still expecting to quit his job. And I think he did present it to me as something that, I won't say he was asking permission, but he was like, hey, this is something that I am kind of planning to do. He wasn't forceful about it, but it was very clear that this is something that he really wants. And again, as fragile as our relationship was at that point, I went along with it. What I did was I said, hey, how about we give it 6 months and then we can reevaluate if it's working, if it's something that we can continue to do, or if you need to go back to work, or if we need to reallocate all of our finances, find a different way to, decrease our expenses to maintain this kind of, you chasing after your dream. And that was that, right? Wrong. So about a couple months later, a month and a half later, so he ends up quitting his job. And then a month after that, he quit his job at the top of the year. And then basically the first few days of February, he was like, deuces, I don't actually want to be here. I lied. He didn't say it like that, but that's essentially what I gathered. And especially now, looking back, because when I'm able to look at the timeline, all right, here's the speculation again. I'm going to lay out a scenario that makes sense in my mind that I really can't prove, but it makes a lot of sense. You know what? Before I do that, let me give this little anecdotal story. I was listening to Hardly Initiated podcasts. A couple weeks ago, they had on a woman. She's a lawyer, a divorce lawyer in Atlanta. And she was talking about some advice that she gives many of her clients that are the higher earners in their household. And she tells them about 6 months to a year before they file for divorce to begin changing their financial kind of lifestyle, to basically to remove some of the financial responsibility from themselves for their household and their spouse. And so that might look like, if it's the higher earner and or maybe it's a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad or whatever, they might start suggesting that stay-at-home person go out and get a part-time job, or take care of a couple of the bills. Maybe they were just contributing loosely, and maybe they're like, let's go ahead and put this bill in your name, so that you have more ownership or whatever. They might find different ways to say it, but essentially they are making it look on paper as though this person is carrying this portion of the load while they're in the relationship. Now, in my case, my dumbass, what I wish I knew. So he spoke to this lawyer, which I found out when we quote unquote reconciled, that he had retained this lawyer, because it was some $5,000 or whatever missing from our account, and we were basically, okay, well, go ahead and get that money back since you're not using it or whatever. But I don't know. I found out that he had this lawyer on retainer, and in my mind it was, okay, well, he needed legal counsel, so he retained a lawyer. No harm, no foul, right? Wrong. Because in all likelihood, that lawyer was possibly telling him the same things that this lawyer was telling her clients that are the higher earners. Find a way to get some of that stuff out of your name. Find a way to reduce your income. Find a way to make it seem as though your spouse is capable of doing this, to reduce your chances of being waxed in court financially. And so when he decided he wanted to reconcile, after he retained that lawyer, so after he got any legal advice he may have needed, that was when he decided to quit his job. You know, he got back together with me on paper and then quit his job, thereby establishing me as not only the higher earner in the relationship, but the sole fucking provider. Ain't that some bullshit? Ain't that some bullshit? And I'm over here just like, let me support you, babe, so you don't leave me. Y'all, when I tell you, this reconciliation phase wound up becoming the biggest source of anguish in this entire divorce process for me. This is why this divorce cost me, drum roll please, 20 grand in 2 years of my life that I cannot get back. And so, like I said, what I wish I knew, and what I would tell other people, like, it's no joke, because the thing is, the moment you guys go from, like, in your relationship, when somebody throws out the D word, this is why it can be so damaging, because at that moment, self-preservation kicks in for real. And although you love each other, you know, you're sleeping with one eye open, because low-key, you're like, damn, what? I love you. You love me? I love you. You love me? You're not sure anymore. And it makes you start to act in ways that people do in desperation when they are trying to protect themselves, self-preservation. And we are, as selfish as people, we are definitely looking out for number one, first and foremost. And so once that word entered, even if he did love me, even if he did care for me, I can tell you he cared more about himself, you know, especially during this time where he's basically trying to exit. He's trying to exit this leadership position in my life, trying to remove the responsibility and burden of his wife from his shoulders. So at that point, he's absolutely looking out for himself. And so, yeah, y'all need to know this and that's why people talk about, like, getting lawyers quickly. And it seems like, I do believe having to get a lawyer and going through lawyers is the worst thing ever. But unless you can ensure that both of you are going to come to the table wanting the best for each other and for your situation as a whole, it's very easy to slip into that space of being rivals, because you are now on opposite sides of the table that you once sat next to each other on. So not only are you guys kind of literally opponents, but you know that the other person knows where all the bodies are buried, you know? So it's like, you're like really hoping that this person's going to fight fair, but you have no leverage. And the only thing that you can do is lawyer up in many cases in order to get, because the other sad truth is, even if you guys love the shit out of each other and want what's best for each other, if y'all could fight well, you'd probably still be married. Think about all those arguments that you have as a couple that is married, that loves each other, and knows that if we don't get out of this fight, I'm never going to get no nookie again. How much harder you work in that situation than you will when you're going through a divorce. So it's not, I won't say it's inevitable. Many people are able to go through this and, you know, get through it well. But a lot of times the part of money really scares people into acting a certain type of way. And the crazy part in my story is my ex and I's incomes at the time of divorce or separation were so close. When he was working, I mean, they were so close. He had come down in his income in many years, and I had gone up in mine, and we were really close. So even if, he would have had to pay more in child support than I would, but it was going to be so minimal. Like, I'm talking maybe $100 or $200 a month, something super minimal, y'all. But I think that a lot of men, and rightfully so, just get scared at the mention of child support or even just divorce in general, because the wide misconception is that the courts favor women in this. And not to say that they don't, they do in many scenarios, but when you are married, y'all, them courts, y'all are the same. There are many women that are out there having to pay child support because they are the higher earners. It's really not about male or female when you're married. Y'all are just two beings, two entities. They don't really care. So, anyways, I think it pressures a lot of people to act outside of themselves in the name of self-preservation, and so that is absolutely what I feel my ex did, and I wish that I had known, because that that set me up for a long, expensive fight that really didn't need to be fought, except in the eyes of the court, the only way to prove something is to fight it, and that costs a lot of money and time. And so, yeah. So the next phase is kind of when all the fuckery began. Well, I would say there's two points of the fuckery. I would say the initial point of the fuckery started with me, and that was child's play. Basically, when it got to the point that he had made up his mind that he wanted the divorce for sure, basically after the reconciliation point, now I move from like sadness and pain and shock and disbelief to just straight anger and bitterness. But because of my personality, it didn't come out like, I may have wanted it to come out. It wasn't like I was a Lifetime movie chick, busting the windows out your car or anything, Jasmine Sullivan. None of that. But I was extremely cold. I definitely didn't make things easy. I blamed him for a lot, which I would still say rightfully so. He had this habit of when I would talk about like, oh man, I hate this for our daughter, or not specifically divorce, but like, time sharing. She has to go back and forth between us, long car rides as a 4-month-old. Like I hated that for her. And he'd be like, yeah, man, me too. Nigga, don't you the unmitigated gall to sit here and try to react as though we're in the same boat. No, nigga, you caused this shit. And I was very vocal about that. So I definitely think that after a while, he was just annoyed with hearing that. And he won that fight, because what he did is he stopped communicating altogether with me. And normally, he would only respond by email, which, y'all, I get it. And I think it's actually a very effective tactic to stop communication. However, when you have a child, I still think that's not the move. But, I guess I learned my lesson. So I will say that is a lesson that you need to learn early on, is just, y'all just work together, because it's no good for either one of you. You both, because, yes, he was able to stop communication with me, but it made it worse for our daughter tenfold, It wasn't good for him, it wasn't good for me, and now it wasn't good for her. So I can't say that, he was alone in the fuckery, though. It was absolutely partially on me for just being a bitch, not really doing anything harmful or taking any kind of money out of his pocket, but just being like, I hate you every day. But anyways, those are the early, and again, I have no regrets, and I don't feel ashamed about that at all, because to be somebody that had gone through all that, yeah, the fact that I am over here, like, you wanted the divorce, I gave you the divorce. I never was coming after you for spousal support, no alimony, wasn't trying to take your kid from you, was like, all I'm trying to do is split everything and move on about my life, get this divorce finalized. And so, I think I was actually an amazing wife, even in divorce. And I think he might say that. He may not have said that in the beginning, but I think overall, absolutely. But anyways, moving forward, the first year was just kind of back and forth with lawyers trying to get the documents ironed out. Because after a while, after the mediation thing, we had to send the paperwork to a lawyer. We didn't have to, but they recommended. And so I gave it to a lawyer friend to review it. And she cautioned me, like, girl, this doesn't offer you any protection. And I know that you want to do things this simple, easy way, but this document lives for a minimum of 18 years. Your daughter is just born. Like, this is going to govern the way that you guys live for a long time. You need to make sure that you're thinking a little bit more long term than how you might be feeling today. And so we ended up both hiring lawyers to read it over and make sure that both of our interests were protected. And this just began a long back and forth, multiple lawyers, multiple drafts of the same damn document. It was exhausting. And around the end of that year, around October, my ex decided to just stop the process, not pull the divorce out, because once it's filed, you don't unfile it. And it wasn't that he wanted to unfile it. He just didn't want to do anything. He didn't respond to any requests for documents from me or my lawyer. He wasn't paying his lawyer, so his lawyer wasn't, compelled to act on his behalf. So we were just sitting ducks. Nothing was getting done. Now, my lawyer was still moving on my behalf, trying to get them to move, which was costing me still, but nothing was actually happening. I'll take a brief break to say what I would have done and what I think people need to know. The reason that we couldn't do anything is because my lawyers didn't advise me properly on how to prevent this from happening in the first place. And I don't put it all on them, but I put a lot of it on them, because they were my legal counsel, and I needed them to dig deep and be creative, and also kind of proactively make sure that I was protected. There's something at least in Florida, and I don't know if this is everywhere, called the case management conference. And basically what this does, it alerts the judge in the court to your case being filed, and they basically hold the legal teams accountable for moving the case through the court at a reasonable pace. So they will make sure that you set dates for when documents need to be seen or submitted, when court dates will be set, and so on and so forth. So basically, it's a level of accountability for your case moving through the court that is, impartial. Otherwise, nobody even knows that it's there. Unless you tap them on the shoulder, they don't know that your court case been sitting there for 2 years without moving, because if they did, they would have a fit, because it does not look good on a judge or on the court to have court cases just, sitting there stale, going stale. So anyways, had I known that, and what I would tell anybody that is in the beginning stages of a divorce, go ahead and set up that case management conference while y'all are still on decent terms, because it's very easy for the dynamic to shift, and one person can use that as a defense tactic, and I'll explain that, because I think that's kind of what my ex was doing. Stalling in a divorce case is absolutely a defense tactic, because what it does is it starves you out financially, emotionally, mentally. You are constantly paying whatever your lawyer is doing, little bullshit fees in the background that add up. I would say I was averaging about $1,000 a month, sometimes more, sometimes less, for all the little extraneous fees and files to be sent out. Like, these lawyer fees are expensive. And then mentally and emotionally, it's like you can't move on with your life. Everything is so tied up to this. Like, you can't purchase property because all of your assets are technically each other's. You are an entity in the eyes of our country, in the eyes of the court, and so everything that you do is connected to this person. That was the oath that y'all took. The documents that y'all signed, that whole marriage license is all cute until you trying to get from up under that nigga, and you can't. You cannot buy a house. You cannot buy a car. You cannot do anything that involves your credit without it pinging this other person and needing their cooperation. So your life is put on hold in many ways. Everything that you're trying to do as far as your child is concerned, none of it is final until it's final, signed off on by a judge. And so basically you are trusting that this person is just going to cooperate, because if they don't, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You have to go through the court system. And so it's absolutely exhausting when somebody is choosing not to cooperate with the court. Like, I remember we spent weeks just trying to get a court date set up, because at that point my ex had no desire to come to the table. And so as much as we wanted to, we can't go to the table by ourselves. It really doesn't work like that. Like, if we can't get both lawyers to come up with a date, then we don't have a court date set. And it's very simple to make it seem like you're trying and not ever get anywhere. Oh, this date doesn't work for us. How about this date, but this time, only this time is available. Well, we're trying, but it doesn't seem like we can come up with something. So, things like that are tactics that people absolutely use. So anyways, October, he decides he's going to pause the divorce for whatever reason he had. It's not even worth telling y'all what this nigga told me. But anyways, he did not come back to the table until February of the next year. So 4 whole months, nothing happened. February, he comes back and he says he's willing to go to mediation again. So now we have a court-appointed mediator and a session set up. We go to the session early March, and my ex comes in with his tax returns filed early, mind you, that basically said he hadn't worked all year. He was effectively poor. And so, if you're understanding how this works, him showing up with his tax return saying that he was poor, because it was for the previous tax year, and this was the first full year that we had gone separated, And so when he quit his job, and we were talking about when we were together that he was going to go back in 6 months, we reevaluate. Now that he was free, he did what he wanted to do, which was nothing according to the eyes of Uncle Sam. And so now, if we were to do what we came to do that day, if we were to iron out all the details of our marital settlement agreement and our custody arrangement or parenting plan, I would have owed him child support. Somebody that I have never made more than. Not only would I owe him child support, but I'd owe him a lot of it, because apparently I'm the rich one in the household. I don't just make more than him, I made a lot more than him based on his tax returns. And so looking back, it would seem that the pause was so that he could round out the year and submit submit the tax returns, so that's what the child support worksheet would be based on. And so that was when I had to go and re-up, get a more expensive lawyer, more aggressive lawyer to fight, to tell the courts, to prove to the courts that he was voluntarily underemployed, and that I did not owe child support. And this it just seems like one of the most asinine fights ever. But to be on the receiving end of divorce that I felt was, unwarranted, but it's your business. If that's how you feel you went out, so be it. I'll cooperate. But then to be like bamboozled into having to pay you child support? Now come on. What in the world? What is this bullshit, y'all? I felt like every nigga that has been scarred by a woman in the course of a divorce. Like, I really felt like the tables had turned, and I don't even know why, because I wasn't even, I was never coming after you. Literally all I wanted the entire time, which is ultimately what I got, was half of my child's expenses. The same, we split all our assets early on. We never had a fight about our assets. We sold everything and split it in the middle and went our separate ways. Easy peasy. The only thing that we were battling about was this child support worksheet, which, by the way, in the state of Florida, you have to file. It had nothing to do with me going after him or him going after me. If you are married and you get a divorce and you have a child, you will fill out this worksheet. And all I was expecting to do was come to the table, fill out the worksheet, and whatever will be, will be. Now, I was aware that because he made more than me, that he would be paying more than me, but it was going to be on some 52%, 48%. It was not going to be something outrageous. And I felt like that's the least I could get for my trouble. Either way, it was, it was what it was. It was the law. I wasn't even, whatever they gave is what it was. I didn't care. But I damn sure didn't expect to have to pay his ass. So, anyways, I went through that, and it was super defeating. Honestly, after that, that mediation, when he came and it became very clear that I was gonna have to pay child support, like, all the fucking lights turned on in my head, and it's like all the dots were immediately connected, because up until that point, I still saw him as the man that I married that no longer wanted to be in the marriage. I didn't see him as evil, you know? But at that moment, I was like, this evil ass nigga, he had all of this shit planned from the moment he pretended to want to reconcile with me. Speculation, but also, is it really? And that's something else that I would caution people, because again, it's that you hold this space for this person in your life, but you have to realize that may not be the case anymore. And I'm not telling people to assume that this person is out to get you, because they may not be. They could be decent people, but you have to be aware of the possibilities. Well, you don't have to. You can be caught off guard like me. I'm just trying to help people not to be as caught off guard, and to really think about what's best for them, and hopefully you're able to do it from a place of morality, and not what's best for me that's also gonna be terrible for you. Like, to be honest, I don't know. At least that's not my approach. I can't imagine that I'd be able to sleep easy at night. But I will say, y'all, all these lessons learned are just to say, like, divorce is tough because it pits one against the other, and it's very difficult to keep your motives pure in the face of your impending doom. There were many times that when I saw what my ex was doing to me, that I'm not even going to mention the thoughts that were running through my head. But I can tell you they weren't pure. But I am proud to say that I never acted on any of them. I never... My go-to was always God, because quite honestly, there was no other way that I'd be able to get through it. And I kind of was just like, listen, Lord, either you're gonna help me or you're not, but I don't have anything left. And he came through. He came through in a big way, because I can say that my character was never compromised. As frustrated as I was, as hurt as I was, as exhausted as I was, I didn't do anything that I'd be ashamed of today. And I'm happy that I can say that. I definitely can't say the same for my ex. I can't. And so that's a testament to, I think, God in my life. That's a testament to me being honest about everything. That's a testament that I actually truly did love him. I actually truly am a decent fucking human being. And I truly do have joy, because that's another thing. As soon as that divorce was finalized and my ex started acting normal, I have been happy, you know? Even if there's still, like, I'm still waiting for my nigga. I'm still waiting for this fairy tale ending, but I have joy again. And that says a lot about how, soul sucking that divorce process was, that it was the process. It was not me, it was truly a dark cloud that was over me during that time. And I'm just so happy that I made it out, y'all. I made it out. I lived to tell the story. And now I'm telling that fucking story. It was crazy. And I just want people to know it's tough. It's tough, but there are decisions that you can make that can kind of help you weather that storm a little better. But you kind of got to keep, both eyes open. And as difficult as it is, you have to be able to see with your eyes and not through your heart during that time. That doesn't mean be a bitch. It doesn't mean be ruthless. But you have to, you got to kind of see the person that you're working with, because it's really easy to be manipulated during that time. So anyways, y'all, I talked way longer than I expected to. But there's a lot of shit to talk about. There's a lot of shit there. And it's not a game out here, y'all. It is not a game. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And to anybody that's going through it out there, please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to share. I don't have enough followers for this to be overwhelming, so feel free to reach out to me. Get counsel. Get a therapist. Oh, also, I'm going to put in the description box divorce care, support groups, Bible studies, whatever you need. Fortify yourself, because you will be depleted, and especially if you have kids. You're going to be giving them from shreds, scraps that you have left, because you are going to be seriously depleted. But anyways, y'all, until next time, I'm so happy that you guys are rocking with me, because I sure be failing y'all. I'll be here whenever I can, and it's going to continue to be that way, in all honesty. So love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys are on social media, please check me out at is_Alexis. That's ISS_Alexis, no E, no I, double S. And if you listen to podcasts, check me out anywhere podcasts are found at Lex Talk. That's LEXTLK. And I can't wait to see you guys in another video. All right, bye.